Welcome back, beautiful people. It's still DNA series and it's story time. Now, this is my favorite part, and we have a lot packed for you. Now, Dr. Miriam Ajikobi Nuruddin Shiaba is still here with me, and she has some amazing stories to tell you. So now, fasten those seatbelts of yours because we're about to go on a beautiful and amazing ride. Now, over to you, Dr. Shiaba.
Here we go, let's go. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Porako, Nigeria, there lived a wealthy and prominent family, the Okorafors. Chief Emeka Okorafor was a successful entrepreneur in the oil industry, known for his astute business acumen and philanthropic efforts. His wife, Nneka, was a beautiful and intelligent woman who managed their household with grace and elegance. Together, they had a son named Chibuzor, who was the center of their world. The Okorafors resided in a grand mansion in the exclusive Old GRA neighborhood. The mansion was a symbol of wealth and status, surrounded by a lush gardens, a glistening pool, and finest amenities money could buy. Their home was often the venue for lavish parties and social gatherings, making them a well known and respected family in Porakot elite circle. Chibuzor, now 7 years old, was a bright and lovely boy adored by everyone who met him. He attended one of the best private schools in the city and excelled in both academics and sports. Chief Emeka often spoke proudly of how Chibuzor would one day take over the family business and continue the Korafor's legacy. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect family lay a brewing storm. It all began with a casual remark made at one of their opulent parties. One of Chief Emeka's business associates, after a few glasses of champagne, jokingly commented on how Chibuzo did not seem to resemble Emeka much. He's got Emeka's beauty for sure. He laughed, but I don't see much of you in him, Emeka. The comment, though intended as harmless banter, struck a chord with Emeka. The more he thought about it, the more he began to notice the differences between himself and Chibuzo. Where Emeka was tall and broad shouldered with dark skin, Chibuzo was shorter with a lighter complexion and a different facial structure. These differences, which had never seemed significant before, now at him. Emeka's suspicion grew, fueled by sleepless nights and a nagging sense of unease. Finally, unable to shake his doubts, he decided to confront Nneka. One evening, after Chibuzo had gone to bed, Emeka broached the subject. Nneka, he began cautiously. There is something that's been on my mind. Nneka looked up from her book, her expression curious. What is it, Emeka? It's about Chibuzo, he said, choosing his words carefully. I've been thinking, do you ever wonder why he looks so different from me? Nika's eyes widened in surprise. What do you mean? Chibuzo is our son. He's perfect. I know he's perfect, Emeka said. His voice tense. But what if there's been a mistake? What if he's not really mine? Ineka's face flushed with anger. How can you say that, Emeka? Chibuzo is our son. We've raised him together. This is absurd. But Emeka's mind was made up. I need to know the truth, Nika. For my peace of mind, I want to do a DNA test. Reluctantly, Nneka agreed. She couldn't deny her husband's right to seek the truth, no matter how hurtful the implication. They decided to carry out the test discreetly, not wanting to alarm Chibuzo or cause unnecessary gossip. The following week, they visited a reputable clinic in Porakot where samples of Emeka and Chibuzor's DNA were collected. The wait for the result was agonizing. Emeka became withdrawn, avoiding social events and immersing himself in work. Nneka, on the other hand, oscillated between anger and anxiety, wondering how their life had come to this point. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Emeka received a call from the clinic informing him that the test results were ready. He insisted that they go together to collect the results, wanting Nneka by his side no matter the outcome. They arrived at the clinic, a modern facility with pristine white walls and a serene atmosphere that little to calm their nerves. They were ushered into the office of Dr. Okoye, the geneticist who had handled their case. Dr. Okoye greeted them with a professional yet sympathetic demeanor. Mr. and Mrs. Okorafor, he began, I have the DNA results, the paternity test results. I understand this is a very sensitive matter, and I want to assure you that the results are accurate and have been double checked. Emeka and Nneka exchanged a tense glance, both holding their breath. Dr. Koye continued. The third result indicate that there is no biological relationship between Mr. Okorafor and Chibuzor. The words hit Emeka like a thunderbolt. He felt as though the ground had been pulled out from under him. Nneka, on the other hand, was visibly shaken but quickly composed herself. This is impossible, she said, her voice steady but firm. Chibuzo is our son. There must be a mistake. Dr. Koye shook his head. I assure you the tests are accurate. There is no doubt. Nneka turned to Emeka, her eyes filled with determination. Emeka, Chibuzo is our son. I carried him for 9 months. If you are not his biological father, then we need to conduct a maternity test to prove that I am his mother. Emeka, still reeling from the initial shock, agreed. They decided to conduct the maternity test immediately to get to the bottom of the matter. Another week passed, filled with tension and uncertainty. Finally, they were called back to the clinic. Dr. Okoye was there to greet them again, looking slightly more sober than this time. Mr. and Mrs. Okorafor, he began. We have the results of the maternity test. The result confirms that Mrs. Okorafor indeed is the biological mother of Chibuzor. The room fell silent. The implication of the result was clear. Chibuzor was Nneka's biological son, but not Emeka's. It could only mean one thing. Nneka's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. Emeka, she whispered, her voice breaking. I am so sorry. Emeka stared at her, a mix of confusion and hurt in his face. Nneka, what's going on? Nneka took a deep breath, gathering the courage to speak. There is something I need to confess, she said, her voice trembling. 8 years ago, before Chibuzo was born, I had an affair. Emeka's eyes widened in shock. An affair with whom? With an old friend from university. Nneka had admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I thought it was over when I found out I was pregnant. I was sure Chibuzo was yours. Emeka, I never doubted it for a moment. The weight of her confession hung heavy in the room. Emeka felt a whirlwind of emotions, betrayal, anger, sadness, and a deep sense of loss. He turned away, struggling to process what he had just heard. Nneka, he said finally, his voice cold and distant. Why didn't you tell me? I was scared, Nneka replied, her tears flowing freely. I was afraid of losing you, of destroying our family. I never wanted to hurt you. Emeka took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. We need some time, he said quietly. Time to think, time to decide what to do next. The drive home was silent, each lost in their own thoughts. When they arrived, Emeka went straight to his study, shutting the door behind him. Nneka sat in the living room, her mind racing with guilt and regrets. Days turned into weeks, and the atmosphere in the Okorafor household remained tensed. Emeka and Nneka barely spoke, each grappling with their own emotions. Chibuzor, sensing the tension, became withdrawn and anxious. Eventually, Emeka knew they needed to talk to find a way forward. One evening, he asked Nneka to join him in the study. She entered, her eyes red from crying. Nneka, he began, his voice soft but firm. I need to understand why this happened. I need to know if we can move past this. Nneka took a deep breath, her hands shaking. Emeka, I know I made a terrible mistake. I was lonely and felt neglected while you were busy with work. It was a moment of weakness and I regret it every single day. I love you and I love Chibuzor. Please believe me. Emeka looked at her, his expression unreadable. Chibuzor is an innocent child in all this. He doesn't deserve to suffer because of our mistakes. I know, Nneka said, her voice breaking. I will do whatever it takes to make things right, Emeka. I want to save our family. After a long silence, Emeka sighed. We need to seek professional help, Nneka. We need counseling to walk through this for Chibuzor's sake and for ours. Nneka nodded, relief and hope mingling in her eyes. Thank you, Emeka. I am willing to do whatever it takes. The road to recovery was not easy. They attended counseling sessions together, working through their pain and rebuilding their trust. Slowly, they began to communicate openly and honestly, laying bare their fears and insecurity. It was a long and arduous process, but both were committed to healing their relationship. For Chibuzor, they decided to keep the details of the affair from him, at least until he was older and could understand. They focused on providing him with a stable and loving environment, ensuring he felt secure and cherished. Months passed, and gradually the wounds began to heal. Emeka and Nneka found a renewed sense of closeness forged through their shared commitment to overcoming the crisis. They learned to forgive not each other, but also themselves. In time, the Okorafor household regains its sense of joy and harmony. The experience, though painful, had taught them the true meaning of love and resilience. They emerged stronger and more united and more appreciative of the bond they shared. Not long after, Nneka discovered she was pregnant again. The news brought a mix of emotions but ultimately filled them with hope and excitement. The pregnancy was smooth, and 9 months later, they welcomed a girl, a Daisy, into their family. This time, there were no doubts or secrets. Emeka and Nneka were determined to raise their children in an environment of love, honesty, and trust. The arrival of Adaeze marked a new chapter in their lives, one that was built on a foundation of resilience and renewed commitment to each other. And so, in the bustling city of Port Harcourt, the Okorafor family continued their journey with a deeper understanding of what it means to be a family. They had faced the storm and come out on the other side, knowing that together they could weather any challenge. That's the end of my story.
Oh my god, I'm blown away. I was honestly hoping that the boy would be the son of the man, but unfortunately,
Unfortunately, not.
oh my! And you know the sad part, I was going to say, thankfully she got pregnant eventually, but the sad part was that
Exactly.
was the only child. Hmm.
Yes, that's it.
And I must commend the man because he really loves his wife. I know a lot of African men, they would say, no, this is not my child, and things are just going to go crazy. He really loves his wife, oh,
But do
because
you remember Michael Bolton's song? Was that Michael Bolton that said when a man loves a woman?
Mhm.
That is what is happening in that thing. Most people don't practice that, but that is what is happening.
Huh.
That's what happened there.
Please, more reason why you need to marry a man that loves you. I don't know how you would do it, but ensure you marry a man that loves you and you to love the man too. I mean, you to still try to be faithful and love the man because when situations get sticky like this, what are you going to do? Well, I'm blown away. Honestly, the plot twist really drove me crazy, but I'm so glad I ended in a nice note, Sha. Things are happening, crazy things are happening. Well, guys, we've come to the end of this episode of DNA series. Now, I would encourage you all to subscribe, hit the bell notification button, like this video, do everything so that you can increase, its visibility and everything. I mean, just subscribe, guys. Till next time, we'll come again with more juicy stories and entertainment and information and education for you guys. Till next time, this is me signing out. Love you
Bye for
guys.
now.
Bye.